Hi, and welcome to another SEO Hangout with Josh Bachynski. Say more. I just wanted to slip onto the camera really quick to record the introduction for my next video, which is a tutorial on how to use Google Analytics for SEO. Google Analytics is a tool released by Google, for those of you who don't know, that you install on your website, and it provides analytical data on what users are doing on your site. And it has fascinating things for SEO built in, especially for SEO in 2016. Before I get to that, I just want to remind you that I have a documentary coming out called Don't Be Evil, Google's Secret War. For those of you who don't know, Google has been treating small businesses, and large businesses for that matter, pretty roughly, and I've made a documentary detailing and interviewing people who've been hurt by Google. So if you want to hear all about that and see what's going on, please by all means watch the trailer. The URL for the trailer should appear somewhere here on your screen. Otherwise, without further ado, let's get to Google Analytics and see the SEO stuff built in.
Okay, and here is my Google Analytics tutorial for SEO in 2016. So this is Google Analytics, for those of you who haven't seen it. This is a particular test site that I have access to that has some pretty good data, and I think will be a good example of different stuff to look at in Google Analytics. And yeah, so basically I'm just going to go through, I can't go through everything in Google Analytics, but I'm going to go through a bunch of different stuff that I think is important, and especially for SEO in 2016 and beyond. So anyway, Google Analytics. Okay, so Google Analytics is very important. This is a test site, as I said, that I have access to, so I'll show you all the stuff about this test site. It's about acid reflux, so it's kind of a knowledge-based site. You kind of have to know a little bit about the site you're looking at to have an idea of if the data in here is useful. And once you know that, the data is super useful for doing SEO. So first off, so the site's getting traffic, not a lot, 30 sessions a day kind of thing, 1,000 users, uniques in a month. And right off the bat, this is the first screen you see, and I can see a bunch of, and this is fairly recent, and I can see a bunch of information here right away that's going to be a problem for SEO. In general, not directly, but in general. So for example, the returning visitors. This is supposed to be a blog site talking about acid reflux and trying to help people combat their acid reflux, and really is probably just upselling some kind of affiliate offer, of course. So right off the bat, we see that the returning visitors are only 9.8%. That's pretty bad right there. For a blog, you would hope that a good chunk of the sessions are going to be returning visitors coming back because the blog is just so darn good. So that's fine. So, but this is a problem, and I would check that right away if you're going to check things. It's a general sense of how good you're doing. Another general sense of how good you're doing is the average session duration. Google's John Mueller has mentioned this specifically. Check your average session duration and check your new visitor rate. That is going to be returning visitor rate. That is going to be an indication of the general quality of the site. You want to see that to be higher, especially for a site where you can imagine people should be returning because the site's so awesome, and people should be staying and reading because the site's so awesome. One quick note about Google Analytics, and it can change based on how you have it installed and what you have installed. So this is just a general rule of thumb, but basically you can't trust the average session duration, and you can't trust the bounce rate out of the box that comes with it. The problem this is because the way they calculate it is that every time a page loads, every time you load a page and then you load another page, I'm just using this graph as an example, this has nothing to do with it, you load one page and you load another page, the JavaScript fires every time you load a page. And so for average session duration, they count the amount of time between those seconds to see, we went to the index page, you went to this page, you went to that page, they can tell what the average time on each page you were. But if you went to the index page, let's say this is all Google here, if you go to the index page and click back, they have no idea what the average session duration is unless you have events installed or something like that. Same thing with the bounce rate. The bounce rate is not the metric you want to look at for SEO. Everyone says it is. This is the more comparable to what's called the internal bounce rate in SEO. This is not the bounce back to SERP rate. If this was Google, this is not the bounce back from the site to the SERP, which I will show you that in a second. In fact, I can show that to you now. So if we go to the users flow, this is where you get the best information for what is going on with your site. This is an invaluable tool right here. This is probably one of my best SEO secrets that I'm sharing with you now. So what is the user flow? The user flow is just what it says. It's the flow of users through your website. What country they came from, what sites they went to, where they flowed to, how many dropped off each time. It's these drop-offs here, these drop-offs that you want to pay attention to, because that means that they dropped off the site. Now, it doesn't mean they were dissatisfied. For example, if this site, you have to also check the average time on the site, and to do that, you need to install an event just to make sure that you know how long they're staying on the site. But if I know this site, and I know it's quite frankly, a fairly crappy, spammy blog, and so I can make a pretty educated guess that people here might not be satisfied, especially given that over here, they're only staying for 36 seconds for those who stayed on the site who are bouncing around, which would be these folks over here who stayed on the site. They only, on average, stayed on any of these pages for 36 seconds. So I will show you in a second where you would check the time. What the hell? I'll do this so I'm going to do this in a broken up way, not in a structured go down way, kind of a topic way. So let's say I'm doing SEO for this site, and I go, okay, well, this looks really, really bad. Now, first off, I'd want to check not all sessions, but probably new users would be much more important to check, right? So I'll go to new users, click apply, and I see, okay, this is even worse. 1,100 sessions on these starting pages, 1,000 of them drop off. Okay, you can do the math in your head. That's about a 90% drop-off rate. That's a 90% drop-off rate, which could very well also mean a 90% bounce back to SERP rate. That is terrible for SEO. I guarantee you that will be an SEO problem, and Moss has done experiments, and lots of other people are starting to realize this will be an SEO problem. Google has publicly admitted that will be an SEO problem. They've downplayed that a lot now because they want to use this metric much more strongly than they used to. But back in the book, in the Plex, they've admitted that they use this. They can get rid of all the noise. They're lying when they say they have noise there, blah, 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 blah. Now, if I wanted to see which particular pages they're dropping off from, okay, I can just click here and go group details, and this is going to tell me the exact page they're having problems for, and the sessions, and the percentage of traffic, and the drop-off rate. So this drop-off rate, which is crucially important for SEO. That's the bounce back to SERP rate. Now again, everyone who came to this page about acid reflux in women who suffer from endometriosis, everyone who came to this page could very well be satisfied. They could have stayed and got their top 5 reasons why this is a problem. I strongly doubt it. This is an editorial. They should be reading it for longer than 36 seconds, right? And remember, this average time in group of 11 seconds is only people who stayed on the site. So I strongly doubt they were educated in 11 seconds too. They probably thought, oh, this is kind of crappy, but the 2.4% who stayed thought, oh, this is kind of crappy, but they scroll it up and down and they go, oh, okay, I'm going to click on something else. And for the most part, what they clicked on here, if I highlight traffic through here, they went, oh, okay, so 2 of them went here, and 1 of them went here, and 1 of them went here. So not a lot of them stayed, right? So this is a beautiful tool that tells you exactly what the traffic is doing on a very high level, and you can quickly tell if your website is succeeding or not. Another big problem, so I can get the group details for all this, and I can find out what pages you have to fix, right? I can go look at this one. Okay, let's see this one. Okay, this one needs to be fixed too. I can look at this one, the index page. Oh yeah, it has extra ones as well. Yeah, look at this drop-off rate. I mean, this is terrible, right? All this kind of stuff. So not only that, but this is another problem, and these are all new users. Now, this matters for a couple of reasons. One, because Google has admitted to me in private, and has admitted more or less in public, because I grilled them, because I thought they were probably using user metrics and tracking Chrome clicks and things like that. And so I asked him, and he waffled on the question, but in my opinion, he basically answered that, yes, we are using Chrome clicks, and Josh, you have to worry about paid traffic, you have to worry about direct traffic, you have to worry about organic traffic. Because he used to tell me, oh, for Panda, you only have to worry about organic traffic. So that's not the way it is anymore. Meaning A, what Googlebot could see and crawl, and B, the bounce back to SERP rate. Now they're actually, if you heard the zombie update, they're getting traffic to come through and click on pages and check things out, and they're tracking clicks in Chrome as well to click on pages and check things out to get aggregate data. So here's where the internal bounce rate comes into play. And I would check, my point is there, I would check all the new users. So here's where the internal bounce rate comes into play. Look at this. So people go to this page here, and then they bounce off of this page and they go to the index page. And they go from the index page, they go to another page. That shouldn't be the case. Technically, that's kind of a failure. This page here, right? This page here shouldn't be shuffling people off to other pages, not the index page. Whenever I see people go to the index page, especially if they start on the index page, they go to a page here and they go back to the index page, that's a failure of the user interface. That means this page here needs to be fixed because it should have its own user interface that wherever they want to go from here, they don't have to go back to the, essentially go back to the index page and go to something else. That's called the internal bounce rate, right? And I see this all the time, and ideally, you want them converting by this click or this click. You don't want extra clicks. Some sites have the strategy of having, many, many clicks, but that's not necessarily what you want, right? Especially if you're selling something. This is a knowledge-based site, so that they're not selling anything directly. They're a little higher up in the sales funnel, I admit. But if your website's lower in the sales funnel, what you want is you want to be converting by this first interaction here. Starting page, they read about it. Yes, I want it. Click, go. Ideally for squeeze pages, they already have the checkout form on that page, right? So it's on the same page. That's ideal. It's called click bleed in any internet market which sells online, which essentially we all do. If you have a web page, you sell online. So you want to worry about click bleed. You want to make sure they're not bouncing around to different pages. I'm definitely going back because I think that this is an SEO factor. I have some evidence to suggest and some leaks from Google to suggest that the internal bounce rate is an SEO factor as well. Okay, now just to round out this point of how useful this is. So let's say you're like, okay, Josh, but what if, this 90% of people here, you say it's a 90% bounce back to SERP rate, but you don't know that these people can be satisfied. They could have went to this page or this page and read the article and was satisfied. Well, first off, for this index page, I know that's not the case because the index page doesn't have anything. The index page is just a collection of other articles. And so they said, oh, it's a gross spammy blog, and 95% bounce back to Google. That's bad, right? And given that it might be happening on so many different pages, it adds up. Don't think just because this is only 40 sessions out of however many, 1,000 sessions it was for this month period, don't think that therefore you're in the clear, because it's going to be happening on all these other pages here too, and all these other starting pages here too. Remember, the general drop-off right here is 90%. So this is what I would do. I would go down here to behavior. I would go to site content. I would go to landing pages. And then what I would do is I would click advanced, and I would tell it to exclude site usage, pages per session greater than 1. So this means this should only be people who go to the landing page and bounce off the landing page. And this is what we'll see. So this tells me right away that there are no events installed. Because if you look at here, the average session duration is 00 seconds. Why? Because they went to this landing page and then they bounced off. Because I filtered off anyone who has a page session higher than 1. Right? So this tells me right away that I don't have the data in Google Analytics to answer the question whether or not these people were satisfied. However, in general, on average, people who moved into the site were only there for 10 seconds. I can spot check with my eyeballs these pages and decide whether or not I think the article sucks and then it needs to be rewritten. And after doing this for over 15 years and working for award-winning ad agencies, I'm pretty darn good at it. But I fully admit I would rather have the data. I would rather have Google events, JavaScript events installed that are being ported into your Google Analytics. If you don't know what those are, email me. I can send you some code, or I can explain kind of how to do it. But basically, then an event would fire in the JavaScript every 5 seconds, or every 10 seconds, or every 15 seconds, whatever we set it at. And then I would see the actual average session duration. The new version of Google Analytics builds that into this number right here. Any kind of event that triggers the JavaScript again. And then I would get a much better idea of, okay, people on average are staying here for 5 seconds. Then I know for a fact, but that's the only page they went to, then they leave. Then I know for a fact that this page is a problem and has to be fixed, and probably all these other pages here too, if they have the exact same design and the exact same crappy style article. So That's a bit of a high-end concept, but I hope it makes sense to you because that is essential. Using this, you spot checking with your eyeballs, checking to see if you can see an average session duration here, and this report back here, the user flows all the time. And it's a bit of a high-end, high-level concept, but this is what you got to be doing for SEO in 2016. It's not just about tweaking your title tags and site content and buying links anymore. Okay, another thing that's very important to check is your mobile statistics. I like to check the mobile overview and see here, look, this is what Google's been warning us about for quite some time. Look at the mobile usage. It's used more on mobile than it is on desktop. Check that out. 47% of the visitors are on mobile. Only 42% are on desktop, and then tablet is 10%. So desktop and tablet renders more or less the same. But now, okay, well, if that's the case, if most of my users are on mobile, I better check to see how well they're doing. Well, let's see. The bounce rate is higher on mobile, and people are bouncing around. They're less satisfied on mobile. The pages per session are less. They're on average viewing less pages, pretty much only one on average, because they're ticked off, probably because the mobile design sucks. And they bounce around the site and they stay less time. So this tells me right here, and don't think just because it's mobile that people are more transient and they're sitting on their couch and half watching TV and half browsing. That could be the case, but I see plenty of sites where the mobile stats are better than the desktop stats. And the desktop stats are pretty abysmal as it is. So you got to check this, right? You might be surprised to find out that, oh, look, 40% of my traffic is coming from mobile. So if you lose 40% of your traffic, if Google sees you have a terrible mobile design, you're blocking CSS and JS, you have other mobile errors in Search Console, that was one of my last videos. Go check that out if you haven't checked it out. I guarantee you're going to have mobile ranking problems, and all of a sudden 40% of your traffic is going to be gone or greatly diminished, and you're going to be going, oh, I don't know what's going on. We were making less sales, we have less people, and you check your desktop rankings and they're the same, but it's because you had all this mobile traffic you didn't know about. So the tools to check your mobile design and how that's going on partly is in the Search Console video I already made, and I can make another video on that tool, the Page Speed Insights tool as well. All right, now let's look at this here. Let's go to acquisition. So first off, everybody knows that you have the queries tool if you can import it from Search Console, and here you can see what they're ranking for. You can see by impressions, average position, and whatnot. And they got some pretty good average position. These are probably on mobile. But here I would keep in mind to look at your CTR. Your CTR is also very important. And I would keep in mind to look at your average position. So your average position and your general impression is going to tell you generally how you're doing. This is going to bounce around a lot. But if your impressions suddenly go down and your average position suddenly goes way up, this is when you probably have some kind of ranking demotion. Although I have seen this report lie before. Sneaky little thing, a buggy little thing, but if you've seen this report lie before, you know your rankings are fine, but your impressions are way down, your average position goes way up, you think you might have a penalty or a demotion, but you don't, email me because I'd love to talk to you about it. But my point is that, so yeah, you can see this here, whoop-de-doo, it actually works better in Search Console now. They've made it better in Search Console, so go back and check my Search Console video. It's in my stream, youtube.com/jbachynski, J-B-A-C-H-Y-N-S. But what I like to check here is the social overview. This is actually very important for SEO as well. So see, out of the 1,200 sessions that they had last month, only one is a social refer. Google let drop a little secret that they're tracking clicks from social. So that's one thing, and lo and behold, they've put it here just so you can see at an easy glance what kind of clicks from social you're getting. So this is terrible. They should have Facebook, Twitter, Reddit, Dig, Disquist. Pick a social network. Pick 10 of them. Yelp. They should all be in there, all getting traffic from those things. Pinterest, Instagram, whatever. And that all the discussion on these social networks, telling them about how they're awesome. And then all the clicks through that are like social proof for Google. It's like a vote. It's like a link. As many clicks you have from social, it's like a link. So let's see, what else do I like to track in here? Another important thing, of course, is site speed. So this isn't very good data, unfortunately, and I'm looking at new users right now. For this, I want to look at all sessions. Blank all sessions, thank you. So this still isn't very good data because it only tested it, 2 or 3 times. I'd like to see it being tested on a regular basis. But even so, this doesn't look good, right? The 2 times I tested it, the average domain lookup time was a third of a second. That should be like this time. That's the time it should be for average domain lookup time. Average server response time was over a second, and the page download time, that's fine. And this page download time is not great. So, although this is not a lot of data, I fully admit, but if you see something like this and something like this, that's too slow. That means you need to upgrade your server, get better server, or look at a CDN. And quite frankly, if it takes that long to render and load, that's a problem as well. And then you should check how it renders on different browsers, and then check to see the full report, how many browsers you have of different types. You click this grid here, and it'll give you better data, and you can sort it by the average load time, page load time, or by the page views. You see, okay, Safari is, so iPhone, mostly people coming here, right? Remember, it was mostly mobile. Chrome, they've never tested. Internet Explorer, this is still a little too long for my taste. Firefox, why is it taking so long to load on Firefox? Only 91 page views, but still, it's taking much longer. Remember that anything under 3 seconds, anything over 3 seconds, you're going to increase the percentage chance of people going back because they're getting annoyed. Okay, and so now I've moved over to a site that does a little bit better because I want to show you some other features that the other site didn't have installed, and that is actually under audience and under demographics and interests. So this is very interesting. If you want to find out, this is typically installed under something called, you have to enable it, it's called Universal Analytics, but once it's enabled, it gives you very interesting data to take a look at. So for example, you can see the overview of your demographics, where they're male and female, their basic age ranges. This is fascinating data. Not only that, but you can get the overview of their interests. This information is golden when it comes to doing social media for your website. When you're trying to figure out what kind of memes can I auto-generate, what kind of jokes can I forward to them, what kind of things can I talk about, this information, both the demographic information here of the ages, the genders, and the particular stuff that they are interested in, that is very important when it comes to for using social media and for picking memes and jokes and getting a sense of is your social base, is your customer base left wing, are they right wing, how to market to them. This is golden information. So that's basically my tutorial on Google Analytics. There's a lot of other good stuff in there. You can drill down to particular web pages and take a look at what's going on for those web pages. But in a nutshell, that's how some of the things I like to use for SEO. So you can email me at joshbachynski@gmail.com. You can look at all my other videos at youtube.com/jbachins, where I have a bunch of other really awesome SEO tutorials and experiments, correlation studies, and leaks from Google of the stuff that's going on in SEO. And finally, you can follow me at Twitter at Josh Bachynski. So again, thanks very much for watching my Google Analytics tutorial, and we'll see you next time.